Good morning, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we cover all the news that you need to know about heading into your work day, your work week, your weekend, and we try to cover as much as we possibly can to make sure you're thoroughly equipped. If you're new here, welcome. We do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we also do a Dark MAGA podcast that's generally every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Well, we'll be talking a little bit about Charlie Kirk. I'm sure you heard the news that happened yesterday at Utah Valley University. We also have the remembering of 9/11 that took place. And we have other news on top of that to cover. So there's a piece here that was written by one of Charlie Kirk's friends, and that would be Ben Shapiro. I took a lot of time yesterday before we went live to see what Charlie's friends were saying, how they were feeling. And we have this here. Now, this is about middle way into the piece that Ben Shapiro wrote. The beginning piece talks about how he met him. But Charlie's Turning Point USA became the single most important conservative political organization in the country. And it grew because Charlie grew. He turned himself into an excellent public speaker and a talented debater. And that was something I found interesting and learned about Charlie Kirk, even though I've been following him for a long, long time, is that he was somebody that grew in this. He didn't start off as really eloquent and a great debater. So I didn't just hear that from one. I've heard that from numerous people, that this guy read a lot of books as time went on. This guy thoroughly equipped himself with the tools necessary to be a great debater. Astonishing. Really remarkable to see what kind of man he grew into. And sadly, what man that he could have grew into even further. He could fundraise better than anyone in the game. He was friendly and just happy. His drive was unmatched because he cared about his fundamental values. The clips of Charlie on campus, the firebrand Charlie, make for great watching, but they don't do him full justice. And this is something a lot of people kept talking about yesterday as well. Behind the scenes, who was Charlie? Because everybody just sees the Charlie in front of camera. Everybody just sees the Ben Shapiro, the Michael Knowles, the Andrew Klavan, the Brad Roberts, the Steven Crowder, the Candace Owens. You just see all of us in front of the camera, but who are we behind the camera is the question. Now, you know, for me, I'm a really quiet guy, to be fair. Well, Charlie was deeply thoughtful, constantly seeking ways to build and grow coalitions. I've also been told that, yes, he pushed Christianity and the thought of God in his, obviously, his public speaking, but behind closed doors, this guy, that's all he wanted to talk about was religion and faith. That's a messy business, and it comes with aches and pains. No one did it better. That's how a guy who never went to college ended up as confident of the president of the United States, the vice president, pretty much everyone else on the right side of the aisle. Charlie never stopped moving. He never stopped talking and negotiating and debating and working. That infectious energy never left him until a killer's bullet ripped his life from him. And there's no more words. There are no more words. It's impossible to process what it means when a 31-year-old man is murdered, a husband, a father of 2 children, assassinated, it would appear, from the crime of passionately speaking the truth. Evil hates truth. Satan hates truth, and so do his demons. A father of 2 children was just lost yesterday. For speaking truth, debating politics and discussing ideas and working to make the country a better place as he saw it. And we all saw it through his eyes as well, what America can be. But here's one thing we do know. This all has to stop. It's an ugly picture that we've seen before, the 1960s, the 70s, which many of you have lived through as well, were a time of tremendous change in American history and of tremendous violence. Political assassinations became commonplace. Bombings and terror attacks were excused by a variety of supposedly great intellectuals. And eventually, America rejected all of it. Now, we're watching the same ugly picture reappear. A wave of violence is building. from the assassination of Charlie Kirk to the attempted shooting of President Trump, from the murder of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson to the slaying of 2 Israeli embassy staffers. All of these acts of violence, extreme violence, have found support in the dark presidents of political radicals, and that would be the progressive left. I'm going to continue reading this, but what I have seen, and it's a good thing that they are saying this, but I have seen a lot of videos on the progressive left come out and say, oh, this shouldn't have happened to Charlie Kirk. This shouldn't happen to anybody. He was just speaking his mind. If you're following me, unfollow me if you think this is a good thing. I'm glad they said that. But I don't believe it. You know what will tell me that this tragic event actually changed them? Is when I listen to them in a month, 6 months, a year, 5 years. See, people don't understand the Democrat Party, the progressive left predominantly, their political tactic has always been to talk about emotion, to talk about and grab hold of your empathy, your feeling, and then have that move their entire movement and narrative. It's always been that way. It ain't going to work on me. You could say whatever you want. It could be the right thing. It could be the wrong thing. I'm only going to believe you when you actually stop calling all of us extremists, threats to democracy, authoritarian supporters, Nazis, racist. I'll believe you when you shut the fuck up with your bullshit, slanderous narratives. I'll believe you. Other than that, don't unsubscribe from me when somebody gets, I don't want to hear their shit. When you've paraded around for fucking years, calling all of us and Charlie Kirk a Nazi, oh, you MAGA supporters, you're racist, you're going to tear up the Constitution, you're destroying this country, fucking spare me. I don't want to hear your shit. Oh, I can't believe this happened. He didn't deserve this. Well, maybe if you shut the fuck up and stop calling people all these names and indoctrinating and brainwashing all these nut jobs out there, well, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, it turns out when you call somebody a Nazi and all these things for years, that there's psychopaths out there that actually believe it. And this was your awakening moment, like, oh my God, it just all of a sudden happened. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Sorry, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. Because I haven't seen it. That's all I've seen for over 4 years, almost a decade, over a decade of you guys, meaning the progressive left, calling all of us names. We're terrorists in our own country. We're threats to you. We're threats to the trans community, LGBT community, blah, 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 all these things. And then you have the goal to come out and go, oh, well, I'm sorry this happened. This shouldn't have happened. If you're following me. I'll believe it when I see it. Other than that, I don't want to hear shit. And it's sad because there's a lot of people on the right who are like, oh, I got a lot more respect for you now that you said this. Not me. Mm-mm. You'll have respect when I see that your rhetoric changes. And you want to know something? It's not going to. It's not going to. Give it time. Give it like a week. Trump will be back being called the Nazi, a dictator, a fascist, and anybody under the umbrella of Make America Great Again, MAGA. You're just a Nazi supporter. Yeah, you're a sympathizer. I'm not falling for it. The temperature in our country has steadily been rising, and it's been rising because many people have determined that their political opponents aren't just opponents, but enemies, threats to their very existence, which is exactly what the left has been pushing. That determination by fringe actors is often reinforced in the online spaces that prize virality and mere emotional excess, and then it breaks free from the world of the online into real life with bloody and horrific consequences. But like I said, the progressive left, some of these influencers are like, oh, I can't believe that happened. Really? Really? So you're so much of an intellectual to go out and debate and say all these nasty things about people. Charlie Kirk, you went after him for his faith, like Parker, for example. Oh, I was at the event. I can't believe this happened. I was so scared. You were literally just targeting the guy's faith not too long ago. You were blown away that the guy was a Christian and you tried to defeat him in a debate, but you didn't even do it with respect. Give me a break. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Yes, that phenomenon crosses the political aisle, but to pretend that the phenomenon is distributed equally would be a mistake. The rising tide of violence on the left has become more and more virulent over the course of the last several years. The argument that speech is violence to be met with violence, the argument that opposition to contention amounts to a form of genocide or erasure, the argument that political opponents are movements away from ending our republic outright. These views all trend towards revolutionary violence. And the wave of violence, a wave already breaking on the shoreline, appears as though it's only the beginning. It already destroyed Charlie Kirk's family and ended his life at the age of 31. And we're almost finished with this. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, please hit that like and subscribe button, folks. We do this each and every morning. I'm going to try to contain myself. But it feels as though a tsunami is coming, and I've felt that for a while, which is why I wrote an entire book called How the Left is Destroying America. Not destroyed, but is destroying America. I wrote it because I believe it. I wrote it because it will always be a timely book so long as the left is always here trying to destroy this country, which will always be because that's their epitome. They hate this country. They think it's evil. They think it's racist. They think it's wrong. The water has already receded from the shoreline, and what comes next could be far more devastating even than what we have seen thus far. That tsunami, if left unchecked, will wash away the entire republic. I've spoken at dozens of college campuses. I've required heavy security at many of them. My security has instructed me to wear bulletproof vests, insisted on metal detectors, told me to leave venues they considered non-securable. And yet I have never truly felt unsafe, because to do so would be to accept, even consider the idea that an American would truly harm someone simply for speaking freely in the United States of America. I don't believe that anymore. I'm not sure who does. I don't believe that anymore either. The days of being able to speak freely out in the town square is gone. And to anybody that goes out and is doing those on the street interviews, or like what Steven Crowder used to do of Change My Mind, I salute all of you, because you are legitimately putting your life at risk. And I would not blame them one bit stopping doing that. I would not blame Steven Crowder for not wanting to go out to college campuses himself anymore with a table and a banner for Change My Mind. He has kids. He has a family. I would not blame Ben Shapiro for not wanting to go on college campuses to speak to the youth anymore. Anybody. That's where we're at as a country. You literally cannot go outside and speak anymore. And you want to know who did that? The progressive left. And you want to know who enables it? The media. The Democrat Party. They do. We need prayers for our country, which is torn apart under attack from within. And without prayers from our own souls, that we hold ourselves accountable for the ways we treat people. Our America is a robust place of discussion and debate, of liberty and rights. But all of that must be ungirded by basic virtue, basic decency, respect for others, and yes, reverence for the uniqueness of America and the values, speech, and deplores violence. It's a tough day, because not only do we remember a legend, and they always say legends never die. Charlie Kirk will be infamous for the man of faith that he was, for the father figure he was, to the role model he was, and the truth that he spoke. Today is also a day that we remember 9/11. Many of us always remember where we were at on that day. So as we remember those that were fallen on such a tragic day where we were attacked as a country, we remember Charlie Kirk, a man that was attacked. And by attacking Charlie Kirk, it's tough not to think that you basically attacked a man that symbolized this great nation. And so it's almost like a double punch, right? For a lot of us. Not only are we remembering things that happened 24 years ago, and by things, I mean a terrorist attack on this country, but we also remember a fellow American that was attacked that symbolized not just faith, but symbolized American values, fatherhood. I don't have much to say about 9/11 other than I know where I was at. I think I was in 7th grade at the time. I was in middle school. I remember that. And I was a knucklehead. And what I mean by that is I was an idiot. I still kind of am. But I show up on, I live on the West Coast. So when this happened, we were just getting to school, and my friends walked up to me. I mean, specifically Jason, and he goes, "Hey, did you hear planes hit the World Trade Center?" Now, I didn't even know what the World Trade Center was, by the way, in 7th grade. I was like, "What's the World Trade Center?" So he explained it to me. Mind you, there's no cell phones back then, right? So I was like, okay, like it's a big old building. And he goes, "Yeah, a jet hit it." And I only had ever really correlated airplane to like a Boeing. I didn't know a Boeing 747 or whatever, 37, no matter. I didn't correlate that to being a jet. So when he said jet, this just shows you how stupid I was. I thought he was talking about a military jet. And so I remember saying like, well, how'd they get a hold of a military jet and fly it into the Trade Center or shoot at it? I go, that doesn't make sense to me. So I dropped the conversation because, I was like, okay, my friend's an idiot. When truly I was the idiot. And I remember walking around campus and all the teachers, you remember those big old TVs they used to hang up in like the corner, or like they'd wheel out in the room when you got to watch a TV? They had it, every teacher was watching it. Like everybody was watching it. And I remember going into the attendance office because they were watching it. I wanted to see like, what was he talking about? Like what buildings? And obviously I saw kind of a similar image on your screen. And they're like, oh, that's not good. And then I just remember hearing all the phones going off in the attendance office, and the assistant principal was like yelling at the attendance people going, "No, we're going to stay in school. That was across the country. That's 3,000 miles away. We're not closing down for the day, blah, blah, blah." So that's kind of what was going on that day for me. And then my mom worked on a weapons station. So when I rode my bike home from school, she was already there, and, the whole military base was on lockdown and stuff like that. But remembering those fallen, and you kind of see how quickly history starts to repeat itself of, allowing certain ideas to flourish. And it doesn't take long, especially I think nowadays it even happens faster, which is kind of interesting because the news and information is so accessible. But I think because things move so quickly that people forget even faster. Now, speaking of 9/11, Al-Qaeda remains most dangerous terror group 24 years after 9/11, experts warn. So in 24 years since a group of 19 members of the Al-Qaeda terrorist group boarded and hijacked 4 flights in a series of attacks, and I heard there was allegedly a 5th flight, on the U.S. that killed almost 3,000 people, the infamous network remains the most dangerous terror group in the world today, warned one expert. Though terrorist groups like ISIS and Hamas have gained immense notoriety over the last several years due to their brutal tactics, expert analysis and senior editor of the Foundation of Defense of Democracies, Long War Journal, explained to Fox News Digital that the threat posed by Al-Qaeda is far more sweeping today. The most dangerous terror group 24 years after 9/11 remains Al-Qaeda. With the support of the Taliban, hold on to that for one moment, the situation there is far worse than it was pre-9/11. This is something that's been echoed by even Christopher Wray, the former FBI director, who was terrible at his job, was saying that even before the Afghanistan debacle that happened under Joe Biden, that this was alarm bells going off. So that's how he described it. Alarm bells were going off before Donald Trump's assassination. They were going off before the Afghanistan withdrawal. And he said it's way worse than the alarm bells that were going off during 9/11 or before. Now, the reason why I wanted you to hold on to that Taliban aspect was, who gave The Taliban in Afghanistan, billions with a B dollars of military grade equipment. Gave them the tiny birds, the Black Hawks, the night vision goggles, the ammunition, the Humvees, some tanks. Oh, it's Joe Biden. That's right. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, the same guy. Sorry. Yeah, the same guy that called us all extremists, right? Threats to democracy, racist, a terrorist in our own country, all these things. Yeah, that guy for 4 years straight. And then he had the balls to tell us to tone down our rhetoric, that we all need to tone down our rhetoric after Donald Trump got shot in the head. But then Charlie Kirk gets shot in the neck the other day, gets assassinated. And then you have all these leftists once again. Oh, my God. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As you could tell, I really don't like the left. I really don't like them. It's so funny. They go, oh, there's white people hunting black men down in the streets. They're hunting them down. God, it really seems like the left is kind of hunting down conservatives. Multiple assassination attempts on the president's life. Death threats constantly on other conservative influencers. I've had my own death threats against me. Guys, sure seems like there's a certain party that's being hunted a little bit, isn't it? The expert explained that not only is al-Qaeda running training camps in at least 13 of the 34 provinces in Afghanistan, its global operations have only continued to expand in the last 2 decades across the Middle East and Africa. This is something that Sarah Adams talked about, codenamed Superbad, CIA terrorist tracker, former CIA terrorist tracker. She said, you got to get out of your mind what we saw during the early 2000s. With, these guys running around with AK-47s and turbines in the desert, you know what I mean, with their flip-flops kicking up sand. Like, they didn't have any body armor, right? It's just literally like a sheet and an AK-47, no, right? Now, these guys, if you were to look at the videos that they're producing now, it looks like American weaponry. Like, it looks like American Navy SEALs. So put that image of, like, they have the get up, they have, like, the sunglasses, right? They got the hat on, they got the vest, and they're just moving quick. Right? They're moving quick. That's what they're training now. And according, again, to Sarah Adams, we are being told that they have invented a new suicide vest that is not trackable to bomb-sniffing dogs, and it is not going to be detected with a metal detector. But good thing Joey really secured that border, man. Good thing. Gee, he did a good job. Not to mention, they have one of the best passport counterfeit creators in the entire world working for them over there in Afghanistan. And, well, now if you bring somebody over, you don't know. But don't worry. Yeah, everybody's safe. Everybody's fine. So al-Qaeda is making a big comeback over there in that country. And, well, we'll turn a blind eye to it once again. Nothing to see here. No big deal. No problemo. It's a massive problem when your country is at its breaking point inside by evil forces that want to destroy it from the inside out. And then when you have people on the outside that also want to destroy you, a little bit of a problem. And when you have attacks on Western civilization happening all across the globe, at what point do people wake up? At what point do people take their head out of the sand and go, oh yeah, there's a big issue here. A big issue. Crazy. It's a crazy time that we live in. We already knew it. We knew it before Charlie Kirk. We've known it since 9/11, and it's bad. We are in a bad, bad state for our country. Well, some of you are asking, is there any updates with Charlie Kirk? And there is. So moments ago, officials have recovered.
Weapon in the woods, not having a clear escape plan, which people thought he did.
Let me see if I can. Moments ago, officials recovered weapon, prints in Charlie Kirk assassination. I'm trying to get an article on that for you. So let me see if I can get that. It's a video off. It was a video off of Fox News. And there's a lot of interesting kind of news out there. So let's see here. So it says, have the police arrested a suspect in the Charlie Kirk shooting? I don't believe they have, but a manhunt is underway in Utah for the sniper who police and federal authorities believe shot Turning Point USA co-founder. Prominent, the shooter and motive are still unknown. Correct. Kirk was shot. We know that. There's vigils happening everywhere across the country, and rightfully so. The country's mourning. I mean, it was already going to mourn on 9/11 anyways, right? But now we have, it's just compounding. The amount of sorrow in this country right now, something we haven't seen in quite some time. So again, let me actually just bring you up Fox. This is what's happening moments ago. If I click on it, well, we can see for a little bit. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me sign in here really quick for all of you guys. Maybe we can watch it a little bit. See if this works. Give me one moment, please.
Jarring to watch. The problem is it really happened. And it happened in the greatest country in the world. And so we got to have a conversation about how much of this we're willing to put up with. So watch what happened to him. He is killed in an instant. In an instant, from 200 yards. For what reason? Because you happen to disagree with his political beliefs? Mm-hmm. Make yourself watch it. And realize this is a husband and a father, not just some political person with whom you may happen to disagree.
Trey, stand by one moment. Robin, I'm going to get your reaction on two things that we just heard here. Let's play the soundbite of the suspect's movements first. Let's listen here.
We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., the subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
Okay, Robin, go ahead, take us through this now. You would assume that if you had a phone, which I'm not quite sure they did, that you would be able to do that quite easily. But it sounds to me like there were cameras that were able to track him. What do you take from it, Robin?
Yeah, I think what they did was they were able to kind of zero in right away on where the shooter came from, where the bullet came from, because they released that right away. So they're able to get cameras on him in that location because campuses have a lot of cameras. Plus, you had 3,000 people with cell phones. And so from that, they're able to backtrack the timeline to actually follow, because once they have an image of an individual, you now have a body language demeanor that he's giving off of a baseline of what you're looking for in that crowd, especially since he stood out with what he was wearing, all black. And so they're just backing up that timeline, and then they're advancing that timeline so they can track those movements. And so when they say they don't have an image of the face, they don't really need that image of the face yet because they have the body language of the individual. It's going to be very telling over time.
Okay, now you said the video. Okay, that's the next soundbite. We'll let you analyze this too. Watch here from the FBI.
Sure.
We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We are working through some technologies and some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we are confident in our abilities right now, and we would like to move forward in a manner that keeps everyone safe and moves this process appropriately.
Hey, Rob, I'm reading between the lines here. I don't believe they've got a name. Is that accurate, do you believe?
I believe that's probably accurate right now, but I think they're going to get that pretty rapidly. There's two things here. One, you have the videos of the individual that they can backtrack and do a match on and see those egress and ingress points. That's why they're seeking more people with videos of him to see if you can track him to a car, license plate, and also start doing triangulation, which is going to take a little time of cell phone data. The other thing with the weapon that they have, the likelihood of them having DNA is very, very high. Let's just look at the Koberger case. They are able to use trace DNA to actually do a genealogy search. It takes a little bit of time, but this is with family members that didn't even put themselves into the genealogy system. So I think they're coming at it from two angles. You're going to be coming at it from the technology of looking cell phone tracking data for this area. That's something that's going to stand out so they can rule out people that actually live in that area since you flew into the woods, possibly vehicle traffic as well as DNA traffic. And so what they're looking for is they're going to have it. They just don't have it quite yet.
Trey, we're coming up on another moment of silence at 9:37, and I wonder if you could take a moment to just talk about this moment that we are in nationally from a perspective that you always so wisely provide.
Yeah, Dana, I remember the aftermath of 9/11 and how the country came together, and we didn't see race, we didn't see gender, we didn't see political orthodoxy. And as we've had events since then, whether it's the shooting of Abby Giffords, whether it's the shooting of Stevie Scalise, the shooting of President Trump, those periods of unity have begun to shrink. And no, I mean, it hadn't been a couple of hours since Charlie Kirk was killed before we had like a zoo-like atmosphere on the floor of the House of Representatives, which is supposed to be the people's house. So I actually think the American people are more unified than those that we send to represent us. So the representatives need to really reflect the American people. 90% of the American people would never do what happened to Charlie Kirk, would never shoot Gabby Giffords. And by the way, a child was also killed when she was shot, would never shoot at Stevie Scalise. We got to do a better job of identifying and silencing and separating that 10% from the rest of us. But look, our memories are so short, Dana. I mean, they were long after 9/11. It was weeks and months of unity. And it hadn't been 24 hours before we had begun to politicize the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Forget about the politics. That's why I want you to look at the video.
That's exactly what I said. Did I not say that it's odd that with the news cycle, things are going to change quickly? People are going to forget. Look what happened to a sitting president being shot in the head. Now you have an assassination of one of, if not the greatest political commentators on the conservative side of the aisle since Ben Shapiro and Rush Limbaugh. I hate to say this. Nothing will change. Nothing will change. Why? Because the left is more religious than actual religious people are. They hate you. They don't like you. And yesterday was just another example of many to prove it. And what will happen? Us conservatives will sit idle. Nothing will change. And that's where the frustration happens, is because what can we do? We allow people to run roughshod over our cities. We allow immigrants to come and pour into our country to try to change our culture rather than assimilate to it. We allow illegal immigrants to come into our country and run roughshod over it. I have said time and time again, you are seeing the fall of the republic happen. The question is how quickly is it going to happen? How fast will it happen? Donald Trump, in my opinion, has only slowed it down. I know people don't want to hear that. More people are more optimistic than I am. I'm a pessimist. But I'm just giving what I am seeing. I am looking at what other commentators are saying across the country, like Thomas Sowell, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Andrew Klavan, Steven Crowder, Candace Owens, Brett Cooper, Glenn Beck, all these people. We all have come to pretty much the same conclusion. Very, very frustrating. By the way, I want to thank everybody for coming out yesterday during our live stream. Community is important. And I firmly believe this is, something that Charlie believed because I've watched the guy enough times. But in times of hardship, in times of despair and grieving, whatever it may be, it's always best to come together as a community and share in some sort of suffering. And yesterday was that moment. And I hope that many people here feel that they have a community that they can go to and rely on when something bad happens, that we can come together, hop in the chat with one another, and kind of, air our grievances online, I suppose, in the most conservative of ways. But the scriptures do talk a lot about gathering. They talk a lot about being together. And that's what we did. So that's what we did. Let's see if we can get into a little bit of some other news here. Again, the big news of the day is regarding Charlie Kirk, and rightfully so. He deserves wall-to-wall news coverage for, in my opinion, weeks and weeks on end. We are also remembering the tragedy of 9/11, and people are sharing their stories. People are sharing their memories all over social media regarding that. A very sad day for just our country in general. And, well, we have this here. Speaking of the rhetoric of the left, The View tries to pin horrific train murder on President Trump. So here we go again. They haven't figured it out themselves, right? These are the same people that push the whole narrative of Nazi and fascist and threat and doesn't like black people and all these things. These idiots here. The host of ABC's The View on Wednesday discussed the horrific stabbing that took place on the rail train in Charlotte. Co-host Whoopi Goldberg kicked off the discussion by noting, and I'm not going to bother playing the clip because ABC, meaning Disney, just flagged me every single time. I could play a 3-second clip and Disney will flag me because those guys can't get it. They got to go after the small fish too, the big fish, small fish. Co-host Whoopi Goldberg kicked off the discussion by noting the seriousness of the situation. Look, a young woman is dead, she said, before criticizing those who bring politics into the conversation. A man who should have been behind bars was loose and out. He was a schizophrenic man. His mother begged them to take him and put him away. So stop politicizing this. This is not political. This has to do with how we take care of our sick Americans when they are in need. Well, it is political, Whoopi, because he was also a black guy. And when you put a black guy behind bars, and which is going to increase the numbers of black men put behind bars, then you're going to say that America is racist. Then you're going to say that black men are being disproportionately affected by the police department than white people and Asians. And then we go down that route. And then if you put a schizophrenic man behind bars, oh, why'd you do that? He's schizophrenic, the mentally ill. Now he's going after the mentally ill. So because you put the guy behind bars to get the help that he needs, and because he committed some sort of heinous crime against somebody, then now you're going to go after Donald Trump for putting a schizophrenic man behind bars. So you put a black man behind bars, you go after him. You put a schizophrenic man behind bars, you go after him. You put a homeless guy behind bars, you go after him. No matter what the guy does, you go after him, because that's what you psychos do over there at The View, and you are psychos. Somebody has to tell it to you, and I will. Because your rhetoric is wild, and it has been wild for decades. And for some ungodly reason, you're too dumb to realize. But it shows possibly how great this country still is, because you get paid millions of dollars to spew your dumbness, but you get to do it in the safety. Charlie Kirk didn't. Charlie Kirk doesn't get to raise his kids anymore. All because what? He talked about faith. He talked about freedom and liberties. I guarantee you there's no thought in their heads at all about how they talk about conservatives, Donald Trump, Republicans. Joy Behar blames Trump Republicans for the murder, but that's why it is political. Well, let's actually see what the quote is. I'm not going to play the video again. They're just going to go after me for it. That's why it is exactly why it's a political situation, because in the first 40 days of Trump administration, they terminated 128 grants from the National Institute of Mental Health. In May, they cut $1 billion in federal grants for mental health services. Oh. So when you cut funding, there's just no services in general. Gotcha. Okay. Didn't know that, Joy. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is Donald Trump's fault, not the judge that allowed a guy with 14 priors to go out and just, be free willy-nilly in the whole streets out there of Charlotte. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's some guy in office's fault that has no connection to it whatsoever. Makes sense. You got the Rhino Griffin, billed as a lone Republican on the panel. Give me a break. She voted for Kamala Harris in 2024, but don't worry. Yeah, she's Republican. Yeah, I know she's a real hardcore conservative. Sure, she is. Tried to dial back the politics slightly. I don't think most Americans hear a tragedy and see that video footage and think it's the Democrat or Republican's fault. They think what went wrong and what could the solution be. Well, no, I think a lot of people think this is political, by the way. 100% think it's political. Because us as conservatives or Republicans, we've been asking for harsher penalties on these people that are committing crimes and not to allow cashless bail to take place. No, it 100% is political. We've asked time and time again to get these people off the streets. So yes, it is. But you guys over there at The View, again, don't know what it is. I can't really wrap my head around it. Can't fathom that we keep asking of, hey, why don't we get criminals off the streets? Get them out of here. We're tired of it. To the point where now we can't even go on college campuses and talk anymore. We can't even speak anymore. We have to be in confined areas in the safety of our homes because the Democrats, specifically the progressive left that are part of the Democrat Party, are going after conservatives. I know, nothing new. If you look at most assassination attempts, by far and large, almost every single one has been conducted by a Democrat. Other than maybe one, and I think the guy was like independent or something like that. Most assassinations in this country's history have been committed by one party. Most of the crime in this country is committed by one party in a city. There's a constant theme here that we see, but it's all our fault. It's Trump's fault. It's MAGA's fault. We're a threat. I've always told you, whatever they say as leftists are just projecting. They are the threat. They're the one killing us. They're the one going out laughing at Charlie Kirk being shot in the neck and assassinated. They're the ones that are saying things the 86-47 openly on social media. Nothing happens to them because they know nothing will happen to them. Nothing ever happens to them. But it only happens to us, it seems to be, where we get deleted, we get death threats, we have to pay millions of dollars in security services to stay alive. And then, but it's not political. Yeah, none of us think it's Democrats or Republicans' fault. Gotcha. Yeah. Makes sense. Jeez. It's crazy, man. That's crazy. You almost like don't even know what to say. You know what I mean? You almost don't even know what to say. We'll see if there's any breaking news happening for all of you really quick. While I'm waiting, we will not have, I'm heading out of town today. I will not have Dark MAGA today. I will not have a show tomorrow. We'll be off the air pretty much starting in the next few minutes here for a few days. So I'm heading out of town, not going to be here. Just want to let you guys know. But authorities, again, allegedly have
who is the first
gotten
Secretary of War
a
to
firearm,
have
I believe.
in these conflicts after 9/11.
There we go. Charlie Kirk, a conservative media person. We got that. So they released people, but authorities recover a suspected murder weapon in the assassination. That is the breaking news. Again, when this all happened, and you kind of heard it a little bit from Trey Gowdy of Fox News. There's cameras everywhere. Everywhere there's cameras on college campuses. So I hope they get this guy. I hope that justice is brought down on him or her, and we get some sort of justice for Charlie Kirk. But I think we'll end the show there today. Again, we will not be here for our normal Dark MAGA podcast. I apologize. That's a whole week without Dark MAGA. We've actually never done that before, I think. But we'll make sure we make it up to you in the remaining weeks of this month. Make sure that you hit that follow button. Follow me on X and Twitter. I'll be posting when I can. Follow me on TikTok. I mean, I'm everywhere. Check out the book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. I mean, you're watching it happen, but it's nice to be a little bit more thoroughly equipped. And pray for Charlie. Pray for his family. Pray for those around him, friends and family. And I hope all of you are grieving. And don't let this, try not to let this ruin your weekend. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. And neither should you. So again, I love you guys. Thank you for being the best community that I have and the best community on YouTube. If you're new here, we would love for you to join us, hop in the live chat, or at least have it open like I do here, and come hang out with us each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because we bring a hell of a show normally. Normally, I bring you the energy. Normally, I bring you the silliness. Today, I don't have it in me. And I think everybody can understand that. Today, I just don't have it in me. But I love you guys. God bless you. I'll see you Monday. Take care, Patriots.